welcome inside the vault on a Thursday. It's the 19th of February here in 2026. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. Getting ready for NFL Combine coverage next week. Looking forward to being out in Indy and tracking down as many familiar names and faces as I can, Sarah, as always, on the road. And we've got a lot to get to in terms of our rundown today. The show itself is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. Here's what we have on deck. Eric DeCosta's, Sarah, gave a rare interview. He doesn't do a ton of interviews, so this was somewhat of a rare occasion in a non-media required type setting from a local perspective. And it was with Aaron Donald and company. So, of course, maybe he'll be a little bit more candid than he would be, a little bit less tight-lipped in some cases. And as you and I kind of spoke about in our pre-show meeting, this was a rare full roster evaluation. And perhaps there was a telling admission wrinkled in there as well about one of these future free agents who could be hitting the open market and be viewed as a prized possession. So we'll get into some of our takeaways there. You've edited some clips so that we can talk about that in the coming minutes. The clock is ticking. The new league year is right around the corner, and there are several in-house Ravens free agent priorities that we're going to take a look at. And then you and I are going to have a good time taking Skip Bayless to task for some agenda-driven nonsense after Declan Doyle's comments yesterday. We've already, literally, you and I were like, there's a difference between criticism and critique. And what does he go and do? He takes the former and runs with it. So we'll have a little bit of fun with him a little bit later on. It's good to see you on this Thursday, and I love that jacket. It is slick.
Well, as I told you in the pre-show call, so I'm heading down to Dallas tomorrow. My husband's on a work trip down there. I was going to meet him. I was like, let me see if this would look good for dinner tonight. I'm trying to preview it and see if it looks good. So we'll see. It's not usually a noon lunch day thing.
It's a little bit on the way in. Come on now.
I'm not doing that.
You look good. You look good.
I appreciate it. Now I'm all like thrown off here. Eric DeCosta in a rare roster evaluation. Yeah. So he went on the show with Aaron Donald, which was really cool to see Aaron. I haven't seen him in a minute, obviously, since he's retired. And they talked a lot about, Eric DeCosta's path and all that kind of stuff. And then finally they got to the good stuff, Bobby. They got to the good stuff. And Aaron, I thought, did a really good job of explaining every single team that he has been a part of that's been successful. He talks about the three elements that those teams had. Okay. I'm sure many of us could already say what that is, but he's going to say it to Eric and then say, how do you evaluate your roster? And I kind of just want to let it run. I want us both on the other side, pick out what stands out to us as he goes both on offense, defense, and special teams, and see. And then we can talk about how close they are on these three elements that Aaron Donald brings up. So let's go check it out.
Success I had on the teams I was with, we always had a quarterback that can get it done, offensive line that can protect the guy, and then you got to be able to get guys to be able to, get after the quarterback and affect the quarterback with the rushers. So with that being said, how you feel about the group that's coming back that you got and the pieces that obviously y'all gonna bring in? How you feel about this upcoming season?
Well, I think this was a disappointing season for us this past year, probably below our standard, below the line for us.
Got hit with the injury bug this year too, though.
We did. I think we have a lot of good players coming back, and I believe in these guys. And, I think we've got to do a better job of getting after the quarterback for sure. I think we have some young guys who can do that. I think losing Nnamdi Madubuike was a big blow for us this year. Terrible that we lost him early in the season like we did. But I think we've got some other guys on defense we're excited about. Travis Jones. We got some young outside linebackers that we feel strongly about. Of course, we got Roquan. And then our secondary has a lot of good players. Kyle Hamilton, Nate Wiggins. Of course, Marlon Humphrey's a great player for us, too. I think there's a strong nucleus coming back. I'm really, really excited to see Jesse Minter's influence on our defense. That's his specialty as a defensive coach. I think that'll make a big impact. And then offensively, I think all the pieces are there. We've got some skilled guys. We've got a tight end like Mark Andrews, running backs, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. Feel really, really good about Zay, Rashad Bateman. A lot of good players. I think on the offensive line, we've got two good tackles in Roger Rosengard and Ronnie Stanley. We got some work to do on Tyler Linderbaum's contract. He's a free agent. We strongly hope to have him back. He's a great player for us and a great leader. And then we've got to just, I think, augment the guard position, which is something that we can do. We've got some good young guys that we really believe in this year. They're going to make a big jump this year for us. Emory Jones is a guy we drafted last year in the 3rd round. We feel really strongly about as being a guy that's going to come in and win a spot for us at the guard spot. But I love our team. I think our special teams is really strong. We've got 2 good kickers, a good kicker and a good punter. I think our coaching staff, what I've seen from our coaches, our new coaching staff is very exciting. I think sometimes change can be good. With change comes innovation and new ways of doing things, new ways of practicing, a new scheme and all these different things. That's going to give us an advantage, I think, this year. When you do the same thing every year and you're playing the Bengals twice a year, the Steelers twice a year, and the Browns, these guys know us like the back of their hands. I think sometimes a change is a positive thing.
All right, Bobby, when you listen to that, what stood out to you in his roster evaluation? I mean, full roster right there.
That I don't think they have all the pieces in-house as of right now. They might in the coming months ahead via free agency in the draft, but not right now. You can't run it back with Daniel Fa'alele at right guard. You hope that Emory Jones can be your starting left guard, but there's not a tape out there, a ton of tape, I should say, out there to suggest that should be the case. Travis Jones is a great foundational piece that they extended, to Eric's point. And when Nnamdi's healthy, he's one of the game's greats in the interior part of that D-line. But we have no idea. There's a big if. I know Femi shared his optimism earlier this week when he came on when you were out on Monday. And I was listening to a segment, for whatever it's worth, that Mike Tannenbaum was giving on ESPN earlier in the week. And he was speaking matter-of-factly about Nnamdi's future, meaning that he'll be back. I don't know if that's just lazy analysis or that he has had conversations. But we know that the optics haven't been great. And obviously, gosh, the last time we heard about it, he hadn't even, and this was months back now, but he hadn't even underwent a procedure one of the times months back when I think it was either Harbaugh or DeCosta was asked about it. So I don't think all the pieces are there right now, and they don't have to be. But knowing that Tyler Linderbaum could very well, that there might be, and we'll have a clip on it in just a bit here, like there's a chance that there could be a far apart status, if you will, between the Ravens front office and Tyler's camp. And if that is the case and he decides to they allow him to hit the open market, I'm guessing there's going to be a team or teams that are throwing him, a decent chunk of change that would not make feasible sense for the Ravens to compete with. And all of a sudden you'd be looking at retooling 3 different positions up and down the offensive line. So he knows that there will be new pieces that come in, that they're not all there. He's saying that he has to say that he likes what he has right now. But I think you and I both know that there are several priorities in play as the offseason begins, and I just ripped off a few of them.
So when I was listening to him, I was definitely listening to it through the lens of what I am still critical of him about from last offseason, which was his failure to get real interior guards that could compete. I know that he drafted Emory Jones. That's great. But he knew when he drafted Emory Jones that he had the shoulder. He knew that. And he's done that before. And Emory Jones did seem to recover, but not till the end of the season. You cannot look at Emory Jones when you draft him, when he has that shoulder, and say, okay, yes, he's part of my plan this year. You can't make a plan based off of hope that somebody will come back from an injury. Then he never brought in true competition for Daniel Fa'alele. And as the backup, he brought in Ben Cleveland, which we all know that John was never going to put Ben in. So I was very critical of him and still am with what he did in the guard position. I also feel like he didn't do quite enough at pass rusher, although I do agree I'm not as critical because of what happened with Madubuike. So when I listen to it, I'm listening to that through that lens and the lens that Aaron Donald set up, which is that you need 3 elements, which is a quarterback. Check, you have Lamar Jackson. You need an offensive line to protect him. Not a check last year, a big fat red X. Then you have to get after the quarterback. And this is partially because of Madubuike. That's a big fat red X of what they did last year. So when he said we need to do a better job of getting after the quarterback for sure, I was like, okay, good. At least with his words, he's saying he's learned his lesson. at least with his words. And I hear you, Bobby. I've heard a lot more optimism about Madubuike recently, a lot more. And it's really begun since he put up that tweet that said great news or good news or whatever it was in all caps. I've heard behind the scenes a lot of optimism for him. I hope that's correct. If he is back and Mike Green takes another step and Jesse Minter is able to bring this defensive standard back, but you need one more thing. I still want Eric DeCosta to augment the group. He seems to understand that they had a big fat red X in that category. Of those three, he knows there's a big fat red X. Then when it got to the interior line, I like that he said we have 2 good tackles, but we have work to do on Tyler Linderbaum's contract. He says we want him back. We strongly want him back. Great. I'm glad you strongly want him back because I feel strongly about that too. But he says there's work to be done.
Yeah.
How much work is there? How far apart are you? That's the part that's making us a little bit nervous. He still cares and believes a lot in Emory Jones. We'll come back to Tyler Linderbaum in a second. I want to dig into Tyler Linderbaum. I'm here for that. I also think Emory Jones can take a step, and I liked what we saw. But gosh dang, if he does not go out and get at least 2 more legitimate guards, because you need one to start on the right-hand side, and you want another guy that could back up both or at least compete with both. And so that to me is a draft pick and a veteran off of the free agent market. I want both. Augment that guard position. Get Tyler Linderbaum back. You have the QB. You're about to pay him $60+ million a year. Protect that man.
Hey, you know who's going to be available via free agency and that probably never should have been allowed to walk a few years ago and would probably still at this point in the back 9 of his career make it for a darn good
You talking about
right
Kevin
guard?
Zeitler?
Correct. I know that ship has probably sailed, but it does bring you back to the idea. And maybe there was an underlying medical condition that they were concerned about. He has missed some time since he left Baltimore and since they allowed him to walk in free agency a few years ago. But you and me both know they have yet to fortify truly successfully the right guard position since he left. And it has to change. It has to change. One note on the Nnamdi Madubuike discussion.
Yeah.
Because, you referenced that, and Eric's referenced, and everybody's referenced, including myself, that it probably would have been different this year had he not played in just 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
How different? I don't know. Because in the 2 games that he did play the first couple weeks of the season before he went down with that neck, the same type of issues were persisting. What were those? The inability to win outside, the inability to get to the quarterback. And even with Nnamdi doing what he does in the middle, clogging up space, attacking the run, right? Creating opportunities for the trickle-down effect around him. They still had issues in weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it's like
for sure. But he also does get pressure on quarterbacks.
He does.
I just want to put that in there. He had double-digit sacks. And what's crazy, in 2 games, he was the sack getting leader in Baltimore until what, like week 12? Something crazy like that.
Look, he would, that's terrible. Okay. First of all, I remember you and I followed that for like what felt like months. And actually it probably was months.
It was months. Yes.
It was months. But to your point, if you go back a few years ago in 23, when they had guys like Jadeveon Clowney who were winning organically on the outside, he ripped off a career high 13 total sacks. 13. The year prior, it was 6.5, meaning 2024. And we all know how 2023 consisted of what they did, who was calling their plays, and just how historic of a defensive season that was. And, of course, the middle part of the field had Roquan and Patrick Queen, who were both playing at a, dare I say, all-pro level, Pro Bowl, let's call it, for both of those players. So I think it would have been different. I just hesitate to sit here and assume that it would have been vastly different had Nnamdi been there the entire year. They would have gotten more pressure, to your point. They probably would have had more sacks as a team recorded overall, but would those same issues, when it's all said and done, particularly when it mattered most in January, would they still have persisted? And if I'm a betting man, my intuition says yes.
Okay.
Linderbaum. Let's talk Linderbaum.
Yeah. Well, before we get to Linderbaum, I just want to make 2 other notes. He did. I don't know if this is just GM speak, but when he was running through the defense, he named Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey returning. Now, listen, he's probably not going to say on camera that he's going to cut one of those 2 guys. Maybe he's already had some preliminary talks about pay cuts. We've talked about, Marlon Humphrey potentially taking a pay cut, but he did name those 2. But that might just be GM speak. So that's something to watch right there. But Linderbaum, let's dig in a little bit deeper. So The Athletic put together their 150 top free agents coming up this March. And Tyler Linderbaum was ranked number 6, the 6th best free agent who's about to hit the market, behind Trey Hendrickson, Breece Hall, Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd, Daniel Jones, and then, yes, Tyler Linderbaum. And The Athletic is predicting just a contract projection of 4 years for $71 million. I know that he probably didn't have the season that he wanted last year. I also do not feel like I'm too concerned about that with the 2 guards that were playing next to him and the offensive line coach that he had. I think he and Lamar are a good duo. I think Lamar is used to him. And so what would 4 years, $71 million put him at? Just underneath Creed Humphrey. It'd be about $17.75 million per year. So not quite number 1, but this projection is putting him right around there. Okay. Now, earlier, maybe you covered this when I was out on Monday, Jason La Canfora had reported that the Ravens are receiving contract rejections from Tyler Linderbaum's camp as contract extensions stall. And maybe that's what kind of EDC was alluding to there, that he says there's a lot of work to be done, but he strongly wants him back. How strongly do you want him? I don't know what they're offering, but I do think that if Linderbaum hits the market, he's probably going to beat Creed Humphrey. He's going to beat him.
Yeah, no doubt. We had a little bit on this earlier in the week. To your point, McFarland was a believer that north of 20 million would be, green light all day long.
So not just beating number 1, but beating it by several million per year.
Resetting the market.
That's bananas.
Yeah. Which,
maybe his agent knows that he can get. So maybe the Ravens are offering him something like what the Athletic's projecting, which is basically Creed Humphrey money. But maybe he knows he can go out and crush the market.
Yeah, as you read the tea leaves, it does kind of feel like that he knows that there might be some limitations to, and again, this is the end of his rookie contract. He had his 5th-year option declined, as we know, a year ago, which was the right financial move by the Ravens, with the idea that a year from now or at any point in between, we have no idea how or when or if any of those conversations, the negotiations maybe were on and off. Who knows? No idea. But the priority was, hey, we'll get something done with him. Well, he's going to be viewed as a prized possession if he hits the open market. And you read some of those tea leaves, Sarah, and you do kind of get it. He's a perennial Pro Bowler. He's someone that, as you just said, and as we've said over and over again, I don't think put his best foot forward for a multitude of reasons in 2025. But are you going to put him in a box and evaluate him as such over the course of his collective career as a whole? Heck no. And he's been durable. Does he struggle against the oversized stud defensive tackles at times throughout his career? Yeah, but who doesn't? And like the knock on him coming out of Iowa was arm size. He's put all that to bed. He's durable. He's Iowa tough. He's a great teammate. He's a no-nonsense guy. Anybody would want him. And so the question is, how badly do the Ravens want him?
Yeah, his word was strongly. How strongly do you want him? And you better have a backup plan. Because if he is rejecting some of your offers, and it is in this $18 million kind of range, and you say, okay, well, we're not desperate, then I want to know what the backup plan is. And it better not be a 3rd-round draft pick. It better not be a 4th-round draft pick. There are so many needs. You need an edge rusher. You need guards. You need to start restocking at wide receiver. There's a lot of needs. And so if you had, I don't know, around 18 million earmarked for him, and he says no, because I can go get 20 million plus, then you can still go get a pretty darn good center out there. But you better make it happen. There better be a backup plan, because just bringing back to Aaron Donald, you have the quarterback. You have to protect that man. And Bobby, I just want to rip through a couple of these that the Athletic had, unless you had anything more you wanted to say about Linderbaum.
Oh, you.
Okay, well, Odafe Owe was number 12 on this list. He's projected 4 years, 88 million. I'm sorry. No. 44 22 million a year basically here for Nnamdi Madubuike.
No.
Big red X. Nnamdi, I hope you go get it. Good for you. I think Jesse Minter, I think he was asked about it yesterday. Hey, you did a good job with Odafe. What did you do? He's like, oh, we just gave him the environment to succeed, yada, yada, yada. Would he be in purple and black again? He's earned the right to go see free agency. Go get your $22 million a year. You're not getting it in Baltimore. Then there's Isaiah Likely. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
There's nothing to add. You and I interpreted it the same way with Jesse yesterday. And best wishes to Odafe, because this is the position and this is the production that he proved that he was capable of in the right system down the second half stretch that gets you paid, and he's going to get paid.
Absolutely. And I hope he does, just not in Baltimore. Isaiah Likely, they're projecting 3 years, 42 million. Here's what's crazy about this. Okay. If he gets 3 years, 42 million, all it would be, Bobby, Mark Andrews got basically 40 million for 3 years. All Isaiah Likely would get if he got this job or if he got this deal is basically $1 million more per year. I'm going to be ticked. Okay. Because I would have preferred Isaiah Likely over Mark Andrews, given his age. He's up and coming. He could stay here longer. I like him better in crunch time than Mark Andrews. He's had his own issues in crunch time, but I don't think they've hit the level of Mark Andrews. We've seen that. If they couldn't bridge the gap of $1 million more per year on both sides, that's going to tick me off. If they paid Mark Andrews basically 3 for $4, and he'd get 3 for $40 million, and he'd get 3 for $42 million, which is only $1 million more per year, and you couldn't bridge that gap, I'm not going to be happy, Bobby.
I'll throw out a projection. I think he goes 3 for 45 to New England.
Oh, to New England.
Yep. They got a boatload. To spend on. He's from Mass. I think Likely ends up a Patriot. 3 years, 45. We'll see in the next
Do they need
weeks.
a tight end? Who do they have over there?
Couldn't hurt. I don't know what their free agency situation is.
Isaiah Likely couldn't hurt a lot of rosters.
Yeah, I actually don't know their current
tight end.
Well, their current free agency situation.
Okay.
Tight end on the roster is Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. I'll do a quick search for us.
Okay, you do that. While you're looking that up, I'll give you Charlie Kohler's projection. 3 years, 21 million. So obviously much less, but I don't know. I just see it would it shock anybody if the Ravens went back like they've done so many times and double dipped with tight ends? $7 million a year for Kohler. It wouldn't shock me that they're moving forward with Mark Andrews and they say, hey, let's go double dip in the draft. Like they did the year that they got Isaiah Likely, and who else was drafted that year? Charlie Kohler, duh.
They were
and
both
then Mark Andrews and Ed Dixon, I believe, was that year. They frequently double dip at the tight end position in a draft, and they hit on a lot of them. So it wouldn't shock me if they let both Charlie. I'll just say this. I think they need to get one of Charlie, Pat Ricard, or Isaiah Likely back. I think the most likely would probably be Pat Ricard. But they need to get one of those three back, and then you go double dip in the draft at tight end.
Just so we're being thorough on this whole tight end discussion.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry in New England's got one more year. His contract runs through 26, so he'll be an unrestricted free agent this time next year. Carries a cap hit of over 11 million in 26. So the Patriots would, be spending quite a bit on their tight end position, assuming that he would stay. And then Austin Hooper was tight end 2 for them. He's an unrestricted free agent. But
Gotcha.
the point, the reason why I brought it up was less about the current tight end situation there and more about the money that they have to spend. So,
yeah.
But if there's one thing, look, there's probably a boatload of teams that would pay him that. But I think that 3-year 45, based on what I've been reading, 3 years 45 for likely, I feel like is not out of the question.
Just to also correct myself, live chat's helping me out here. The double dips that happened were Kolar Likely, Hayden Hurst, Mark Andrews, Ed Dixon, and Dennis Pitta. Those were the double dips, the last 3 double dips.
There you go. And of course, most recently, right, the onslaught of 4th round picks in 2022 is where Charlie and Isaiah came from. And gosh, how many others that day, right?
Right.
Both cornerbacks, Jalen Armour Davis, Pepe Williams, and we could keep going that day in the 4th round, day 3 back in 2022. So what about Alohi?
I just want to put this in here. 3 years, $28 million. I'm good there. Don't think the Ravens need to spend that. So Alohi, I really appreciated. I think it was a win-win trade because Odafe wasn't doing much here. They probably ended up needing him once injuries started to pile up, but Alohi did good things in the back end, really opening up Kyle Hamilton. Draymond Jones. Now, here's one I really want to get your opinion on. Excuse me. I know a lot of people liked him. I do feel like he started to fizzle out a little bit. Like he came in and did well, but did fizzle out a little bit. But so they have a projection of 3 years, $28.5 million. So that's just under $10 million a year. I think that's good. He had 7 sacks last year, 51 pressures. Still waiting on a game record, though. You know what I mean? Like
he brought juice. He's a great complimentary piece. He brought juice. Yes, he was motivated.
Yes.
He was motivated after the deadline, as anyone who just was traded was. He went from pretender to a contender, and he seemed like he enjoyed his time in Baltimore. So this is something I'd be receptive to. Again, I think the complimentary side of things, his way to organically win, which is what he did right when he got to Baltimore. Yes, it kind of came in waves throughout the second half, but this would be a smart re-sign, I think. As far as Alohi and Ardarius Washington are concerned, just to kind of talk about the safety position, it would not surprise me if both of them end up walking. Outside of Malachi and Kyle, that leaves them with more questions than it does answers, particularly given Kyle's flexibility, and you want him all over the field. So who are you going to have on the back end? Would it be, if I had to choose between, and I think Femi and I both agreed on this on Monday, if you had to choose between the two, Alohi and Ardarius, I think I'd go with Ardarius. And granted, yes, he's coming back from an Achilles, but this is a player who has consistently throughout his career, when healthy, which I know that's been the knock, and it's a big when. If it's a big if, I should say, if he's healthy. And when he is, he plays as if he's 5'8", $180. He plays like he's above 6 foot and above 200 pounds. He's a hit stick, physical guy, knack for the football. He did not need to come back and return after that Achilles, but he did. And he struggled in space at times, as anybody would be who was literally like accelerating his recovery timeline the way that he did. But if I had to choose between the two and one were to return, it'd be Ardarius for me.
Ardarius, I would assume, would be cheaper too.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And we remember a year ago doing some episodes when they tendered him, he was bummed because he thought he was going to get a legitimate extension based on what he did in 24. And unfortunately, that did not happen. And then what happened a month later? He tore his Achilles in that conditioning session. So it's unfortunate how Ardarius's career has panned out for him. He's an undrafted rookie. He played for TCU, prideful guy, beloved in the building. I hope he gets a chance to either, if not in Baltimore, continue his NFL career, because what he's put out on tape, the Joe Mixon hit stick, the forced fumble on Russell Wilson, Pat Freiermuth a couple of years ago in the red zone, Pittsburgh. These are plays that stick out to you. These are plays that when I would assume you're a fan of the team, you appreciate them. You don't forget them. And when you have that out on tape, I don't know if you're going to be a coveted free agent, but you'll be someone that would at least be intriguing to bring into your program, and maybe ends up staying in the program that he spent his entire career in.
And if I'm him, I want to hit free agency just to see, because like you said, he was restricted last year, didn't get the tenor that he wanted. I'd be curious. I'd be curious if I were him to see what I could go out there and what my market is. Sure. Again, I don't think it's going to be as big as Lohi's, but maybe he can make some money. Okay, Daniel Fa'alele, just as we should do this exercise. They have him as the 129th free agent out of 150. 2 years, $11 million. That's let's see, $5.5 million per year. Pretty good money. Not too bad for a guard position, but I still say, nah, we're good. I do not want to see it, Bobby.
It's time to move on.
Re-sign this man. Eric DeCosta, don't do it. Can Dwayne Ledford just go to Eric and be like, no, dude, we're good. We're good.
It's time to move on. You're revamping the offensive line room. You're already retooling both guards. You have one in-house that you think is going to be, a starter for you and fortify left guard for years to come. It's time to plug and play and replace right guard. Find a way to keep Linderbaum in-house, and you got your tackles there for the foreseeable future. I'm best wishes to him. I hope he gets a chance to resurrect his career elsewhere, but I think it's run its course with the Ravens.
Thank you. Let's hope Eric DeCosta feels the same. And how about this? Tyler Huntley, the 144th ranked free agent out of 150, contract projection 1 year, $4 million. Get her done.
Yeah, this is the easiest one that you have on here, slides-wise. He won them not single-handedly, but he won 2 games against playoff teams, one of which was in a primetime showdown at Green Bay. I mean, come on, it's a tough place to play, tough weather. I know that was a Derrick Henry night, but Snoop played clean football for them this year.
Yep.
And that's most important when you're not the primary, when you are the primary backup and you get thrust into these positions, which Tyler has a lot. He's been pretty lucky when it comes to the situations that he's found himself in over the years, particularly with some of Lamar's injuries, because it's given him opportunity. And so you saw it against Chicago, much like you did earlier on in his career when Lamar was hurt, and you saw it against Green Bay. He played clean football, good, solid game management football, and the Ravens followed his lead. And so, hey, he could probably get paid more elsewhere, and he might be worth more elsewhere. Heck, he might be worth more to the Ravens knowing what he's done for them in recent seasons. But you got to find a way to keep Snoop in Baltimore, Sarah, because he to his point, or to his credit, as a former undrafted rookie out of Utah, came in pretty raw. And wanted to get the ball out of his hands quickly, and typically would tuck it and run it and not allow, outside of progression number 1 to develop, just because of how new and inexperienced he was. He has developed himself into one of the more capable backup quarterbacks in this league, and I credit him for that, and hopefully he stays in Baltimore.
Absolutely. And to your point with his clean football, if the defense has a resurgent year, a comeback year, that means even more have him clean football. Yeah. Like Tyler had to do some things to win some of those games, knowing that the defense wasn't, phenomenal. Although I guess they did play well in that Chicago game, especially. But if there is a resurgent year, then that just makes Tyler make more sense with how clean he played.
Yep. And to your point, you got complimentary football in those games, solid special teams. Derrick was special. But Tyler had a few moments where you had to have him, and he answered the bell. So good on him. Okay, let's get to some super chats and a read here, and then you and I are going to get after pretty good Skip Bayless for what he tweeted yesterday, which was below the belt, if you ask me. But first, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. One of our longest standing sponsors. This month, we are doing a $100 gift card giveaway. We always do it. It's usually a Fanatics gift card. This month, it is a Vault merch line gift card. So if you win, you can use it directly at thevaultpod.com. We'll tell you about that in a second. But if you're buying a home in Maryland, the Maryland Mortgage Program, aka MMP, offers powerful down payment assistance and grants to help you get across the finish line. So down payment assistance. First and second time buyer options are available. Help for employees, caregivers, and buyers with student loans. You can give them a call. You don't need to be in the Maryland area to work with them. Obviously, being a part of this specific program, you do. But if you just want to work with Primary and figure out how you might be looked at as a home buyer, a potential buyer in 26, give them a call, 410-663-2222. That's 410-663-2222. We have that link directly for you in the show notes. We also have it as a pinned comment in the live chat. If you press that, it'll take you to this Instagram page. And we have the instructions, as we always do, for how to enter into the giveaway. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault. Tag 3 friends you buy a house with. Follow PRMI Mid-Atlantic on Instagram. Subscribe to the Vault on YouTube. Throw your notifications on so you're alerted of when we go live. If you want to take it the extra mile, scan the QR code that you see on the screen. Copy and paste that Google form link. You can fill it out less than 30 seconds. And if you do, we'll easily be able to contact you should you win. Thanks to those of you who've already been participating. Here's everybody tagging and using the hashtag. We love it. We appreciate you guys. Let's get us some super chats.
Let's do it.
We kick things off with, we really owe him a super chat at this point. Jake Asman.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever gone over to his show and paid him back?
I gave him one when we were in Vegas last year at the conference that he always puts on. I really need to get back to it. Jake Asman, Jets YouTuber, friend of the program. Linderbaum to the Jets. Bobby T to the Combine. We'll be in Indianapolis together next week, and I'm sure the Jets would kill to have Tyler as starting center, would they not?
I mean, kill's a strong word, but yeah, I bet they would throw a lot of money at him.
Half the league would. Dreams is here.
Aaron Donald would have embarrassed 77. A lot of people did, actually.
Aaron, one of those all-time greats, Sarah, that retired at his best. Luke Kuechly comes to mind. Marshall Yanda comes to mind. Gosh, Andrew Luck comes to mind. Guys that retired when they were at their prime. Mary writes, is there a deadline to retire? Huh. Related to, are we talking about Nambi here? Probably.
I mean, are you talking about, is there a deadline within a single year? Or are you saying like ever? So it's like you haven't played in 4 years, so now like you should officially retire? Or are you saying, is there a deadline to retire before like it hits the cap? And the answer is yes. So if we're talking about Matabike, he would need to retire before monies that are guaranteed and options that kick in 2026. He would need to retire. So he would like void his $22 million base salary if he retired before whatever it says in his contract. Usually it's in March where these like options kick in for the new league year. So if you're talking about Matabike, yes, there would be a deadline. If there's one, I'm like, I don't know, I haven't played in 4 years. I'm going to wait another 4 years to officially retire. There's no deadline.
Thanks, Mary. Will, what's up, Will? I've cross-checked all of the new coaches coming straight from the colleges with their own team schedules and their conferences. Their working knowledge includes a huge chunk of this year's draft. Priceless advantage. Yeah, I mean, think about it, and there's some familiarity too. Harlan Bauer comes over from Duke. He's going to be the outside linebackers coach, Sarah. Well, you want to know who was at Duke before he transferred to Virginia Tech? Aeneas Peebles, a.k.a. Fub, one of the rookies from last year. Now, I think we were all kind of left wondering, why was Fub a part of the equation early on in the process and then became a victim to the numbers game throughout the majority of the second half of the season? Was it his inability or the lack of trust against the run? Was it a development thing? What was it? And so, yeah, Harlan comes over from the college ranks. Gosh, there's a ton of them. PJ Volker from Navy, who's a good friend of Jesse's. Mike Mickens, Sarah's probably like maybe the most signature name, just given what he did at a big-time program like Notre Dame and how revered he is from a secondary standpoint. He played his college football at Cincinnati. So we'll make some good points here. Hopefully that gives them a leg up come draft season.
Hey, Bobby, just to have the exact dates here on the Matabike, thank you for that answering that question, the rundown. So Justin Matabike gets his $22 million salary for 2026. It's guaranteed on the 5th league day of 2025. And then, there's other roster bonuses in 2027, 28 and 29. So fifth league day of 2025. So I guess his 22 million has already hit then. Last year, it kicked in for this year. So that's gone.
And let's see, the new league year, I believe, is set for March 11th.
Yeah, that's for 2026.
Correct.
But his salary for 2026 was already guaranteed the 5th league day of 2025. So they guaranteed it a year early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks to Will.
See, that's why these contracts, you got to get into the details. And this is the stuff they negotiate and kind of quibble over.
Especially when there's serious, you would think, a serious decision to be made here with major life implications if you're an Omni. Board certified DJ for you.
He says Raiders will give Lindy 4 years, 85+ million. Mark my words. EDC can't magically create cap space for he and likely.
Raiders
he could create cap space, but he'd pay for it next year and the year after. 4 years, 85 million. That's a little rich.
Oh boy,
85.
That is
21.25 million per year. So that would be Creed Humphrey by $3.25 million.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you were alluding to. You said 20 million plus.
I did. Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
The Raiders coming in with a new quarterback, a new head coach. Tom Brady's one of the minority owners. Will Max Crosby be on the other side of the ball? That remains to be seen. Interesting, DJ. Interesting. CR 00785 says, long time, first time. Love the show. Bobby, don't know if Jimmy Smith texted you yet, but need some recommendations. We'll be coming to St. Pete next weekend if you're around. An old-fashioned on me. Let's see. Next weekend.
Are you in the combine?
I'm in Indy. Through Saturday. John, my brother, just landed this morning from Baltimore to spend 10 days with me. He is going to Orlando the second half of next week to hang out with our cousins. And I'm doing 2 one-way flights, one out of Tampa to Indy, one from Indy to Orlando to hang out with them. I don't know when we're going to be back yet. So now, why would Jimmy have texted me yet? How does Jimmy come into play here? Are you hanging out with Jimmy? Either way, if I'm around, I'd love to get an old fashioned. Yeah, of course. Oh, here's a second one. Under your tutelage, I won't have to drink from a fire hose because when the bullets are flying down there, I'll stand 10 toes down and know what to get into. This is actually one of my favorite super chats that we've ever gotten because he just used 10 of my crutch phrases in one sentence. So there's a level of like banter to this and also creativity. And for that, I salute to you, CR.
Appreciate the super chat, CR, but let's not do some of these cliches that Bobby says, especially the 10 toes one. Ugh.
Somewhere, Chef Trez has his whiteboard in front of him and he's just firing off marker. Right? He's just letting it rip. Okay, I got to figure out how to get in touch with CR.
He just said he DM'd you on IG.
Okay. Thank you. I will look at that. Appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat, man. DJ P's in the building.
Says Wyatt Teller is available. Might not be cheap, but he's for sure an upgrade. Yeah, I got a slide on that coming up.
Cool.
Wyatt Teller from the Browns. He's already said he's not coming back.
Okay.
He's the second guy to do that, right? Tight end. Njoku has already said that.
Yep. They're getting out of Dodge. I know it's.
They're like, Todd Monken? No, I'm good. But I like Todd. That's crazy.
We do. If I'm a Cleveland Brown and I've been a part of the program the way those guys have for a while, it feels somewhat of a rebuild. They don't know what their quarterback situation is. I want to go win.
Yeah. So it might be less about Todd and more about just, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, what's up, Paul? Fans have been asking, who will hold this team accountable to a better standard? Jesse Minter and staff. Everybody together. John Harbaugh. Nobody. See the way he's putting this together here?
He sure did. Taking John's words out of context for sure, but it's well done. Well played.
Paul, appreciate the super chat. Hope your travelers are going well, man. And thanks to all of you guys for being with us on this Thursday. If you could like the video on your way in or out, we'd appreciate it. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Sarah, how did we know this was going to happen? Skip Bayless took to X after Declan Doyle's coordinator press conference. And that was one that Jesse Minter conducted in Baltimore yesterday, along with his special teams coordinator, Anthony Levine Sr. his defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, and of course, his OC, the aforementioned Declan Doyle. You and I literally came on, and before we could, let's just nip it in the bud, we almost said to ourselves.
We did.
Was not a critique. Literally, you and I did that. Now, was it with this in mind that this type of response could come? Maybe. But to us, it was pretty cut and dry. Hey, that was a really level-headed way of saying, one, I'm still getting to know Lamar. Two, here are my non-negotiables, not for Lamar, but for the entire offense.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my offensive philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I think Lamar can improve. And he's already a 2-time MVP. Wow. You have to defend our offense twice within every play because of him. And you and I were because of all that and more, including what he said on the lounge, this wasn't critical. This was constructive. This was exciting. This was
growth mindset.
This was rejuvenating. He referred to Lamar as having such a growth mindset. And what do you know? Despite our efforts, partner, apparently we weren't loud enough, because Skip Bayless, who's certainly been known to say a few ridiculous things over his time in media, did exactly that. And he got community noted as a result. Skip tweeted out this. The new Ravens OC, a 29-year-old who has never called an NFL play, just criticized Lamar Jackson's after-snap decision-making last season while urging him to be at OTAs. He wasn't last year, in parentheses. He wasn't at some of them last year, as Baltimore wants Lamar to restructure to create cap. This will not go well. Where do we even begin, Sarah? Well, let me read the community note first.
Okay. Let's go to the smackdown that the community note has.
First of all, I quote tweeted with the following: English for quote, meaning quote, I will quote tweet your arse and say, quote, I didn't actually listen to this press conference because it sure seems like he didn't. Readers add context. Community note. 1, it's literally bullet pointed. That's how much readers are getting after Skip here. Declan Doyle did not criticize Lamar at any point during the introductory press conferences today. 2, the comment regarding OTAs was about the entire unit, not Lamar specific, as Skip suggests. Quote, we would expect them to be here, and certainly it is voluntary. And they actually used part of the transcription from what I went ahead and edited.
Yes, you did.
From which we always do, you and I, in preparation for our shows. There probably should be a third here. They want to extend Lamar. They want to get Lamar extended.
How does he not know the difference between restructure and extension? Restructure, the Ravens can do it anytime without Lamar.
Can we figure out how to get a third bullet point on there? Number 3. Go ahead and dive in here. Where do you even begin?
First of all, okay, let's talk. Never once did he come close to criticizing his decision-making. All what he said was that when he's watching the tape, he can see sometimes his footwork and where his eyes go might not be super consistent. And then he said, I'm really fired up to sit down with Lamar to see how he's coached on that. And so it's here's what's crazy. This is why, Bobby, this is why we can't have nice press conferences. This is why we get coach speak all the time. And this is what I said yesterday. I said, well, Declan Doyle's about to find out because he's a first-time offensive coordinator calling plays, and he's just being matter of fact. He's not demeaning Lamar. He's not criticizing Lamar. He's talking about how he's so happy that Lamar has this growth mindset, which blows his mind coming from the outside. We already know from Lamar that he does have a growth mindset because he does come back every single offseason and has a new weapon in his belt. And sometimes it's weapons, plural. We have seen this time and time again. He's won MVPs in 2 different ways. And this is what drives me nuts about the national media. They make everybody else believe that Lamar doesn't work and he's not a passer. And he just relies on his talent and that he's not smart and he doesn't really study the game and this and that. And I get that all the time from people, Bobby. I just came back from Arizona and I was talking to a random guy out there and he has the national media's view of Lamar. And why wouldn't he? It's not like he's in Baltimore and he's watching Lamar every single day. He does what everybody else does. And they go to ESPN or SportsCenter or whatever and just get the top level, whatever stuff. And it's just a caricature that they're pushing. And so like this, why can't we have nice press conferences where we just acknowledge small things? Lamar has a growth mindset. He's a 2.5-time MVP. He loves that he has a growth mindset. And he says, I'd love to help him become more consistent in his footwork. Not that he has bad footwork, not that he doesn't know how to have footwork, not that he has bad decision-making. That never came up at all. Yeah. And this is why. And Bobby, I've had a campaign with my own friends sometimes. You know how like a lot of time people are like, oh, you don't want to feel shame. Like shame can sometimes make you super depressed and all of that. So I'm not talking about that. But we also say, hey, politicians have no shame, right? Like there's a role for shame in this world. Bring back shame, Skip Bayless, because Bobby, I went over to his Twitter account after he got community noted, and his comments are flooded with, that's not true. That's not true. That's not what happened. Like you're not even close to telling the truth. And I'm like, maybe Skip Bayless has some shame. Maybe he's responded to some people. Maybe he's quote retweeted it and said, oh, my bad. I meant to say it more like this. No, instead, you want to know what I found? You want to know what I found? Another tweet that was community noted. And he just doesn't care. Like there's no shame for Skip Bayless. He doesn't care that he got it totally wrong. He got community noted. He's got comments all over the place. Bring back shame.
Right? You sensed it and felt it in Arizona. We feel it all over the place when we travel, that this voice and these voices like this example right here, they carry weight, unfortunately.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, narrative-driven stuff becomes like actual instilled belief. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. You know, there's no room for interpretation here. That's the problem. If there was room, if there was leeway for interpretation, you and I would be more receptive and probably a little bit more lenient with the way that we're getting after him right now. Instead, this is just straight up nonsense. It's inaccurate. That's what it is. This is inaccuracy. This is what, just in case you guys needed a reminder, this is how Declan handled some of the conversation and questioning surrounding Lamar.
Obviously, the biggest thing with him that's a challenge to defend for a defense is that they have to defend 2 plays on every play. So they have to defend the first play that we call, that we have designed and game planned and trying to stress the defense, and then they have to defend the second element, which is him creating on his own, that second act, the stuff that he's done since he was a kid. That first play can be more consistent at times with his eyes, with his footwork, within the system. That's kind of what I've noticed as we've watched the tape. That's stuff that as soon as he gets in here, I'm really fired up to sit with him and start to talk through a lot of that stuff, because you don't always get the full picture until you're really sitting with a player and talking, how were you being coached, or what were you supposed to be looking at? And once you start to be able to have that dialogue, that's where progress exists. But that really is, I want to have a growth mindset with every one of our players, that when they come in here, they feel like they can get better. Our whole, our offensive staff, I'm sure they're doing it on defense as well, has looked at each of our guys. They've kind of made these points, these action plans as far as how we're going to improve this offseason, 3 different areas that they're going to get better at. And, he's no exception.
Okay, so nowhere in there was their decision-making. All he said was more consistency, and he wants to find out how he was coached on it. And so how can you have a growth mindset if you can't just find little tiny things to get a 1% better at? And then, but now you're not going to have this anymore. We're not going to be able to have nice things, Bobby. We're not going to be able to have nice press conferences, because now Declan Doyle is going to see people like, oh, look what you just said about Lamar, and look at this. And do you think your quarterback's going to like that while you're trying to get a contract extension going? Lamar's not going to let, I'm sure he and Lamar have talked about this, and he can't wait to hear more about it. But nowhere in there did he talk about decision-making. He said consistency with footwork and eyes, and I want to find out how he's been coached.
He did expand on the communication and dialogue that he's had with Lamar, which he did admit in his sit down with the lounge. It's been limited. Of course it's been limited.
No, Garrett said it's been limited, and he goes, well, it's been limited, but
sure,
it wasn't been limited. Once you heard him say what it was, an hour-long Zoom call, plus phone calls, plus text, it's about as much as you would think in the last couple weeks since he's been drinking from the fire hose and being hired. I don't think that's a low amount at all.
it was an extension of the question. It was a way of conversing back and forth with an interviewer, and that might have been taken a little bit out of context given Lamar's handling of offseason and how private he is and how he likes to spend it in South Florida for the most part. Here is Declan yesterday, just so we're being thorough here, right? Just in case you guys missed our thorough breakdown as it was yesterday, the instant reaction. Here's Declan on communication with Lamar to date.
A few times. One of them was in the interview process. I was able to sit with him for, I don't know, over an hour on a Zoom call while he was down in Florida and be able to we talked about a lot of different subjects, but kind of go through, his time in the past here, kind of what his vision is for what he needs to be able to operate at the highest level. And I really wanted to see, if we were compatible and if that was a fit, and you're trying to figure out what the coaching structure is going to look like in that way. And so got a chance to visit with him then, have had a chance to visit with him a few more times since then, exchanged some texts, and certainly very excited about the caliber player he is, but also just in all the conversations, his willingness to listen, his hunger to learn, his hunger to grow. I think he is a guy with a growth mindset that, he's played at a really high level, and still I think that he wants to continue to work and feels like he can get better. And so me and the rest of the staff are really excited to chase that with him.
And Sarah, once more, before we go the national side of things, just to kind of put all this together, OTA expectations, what are they?
Going to be here, and certainly it is voluntary. And so, but it's also, if you want to say that you're going to win a championship, you want to say that you have championship standards and those are your goals and your expectations, certainly that's going to take work, that's going to take collaboration, that's going to take the beginning of building the relationship with their coaches, other players, starting off this next regime on the right foot. And so that would be those guys getting in here, us being able to work with them hands-on and be able to kind of get this thing going in the direction that we want to, and making improvements so that we set ourselves up where when we come back in for training camp, we hit the ground running. We already have kind of shared knowledge, shared language, and we're able to go right to work.
So how you got this out of all that remains to be seen. But Sarah...
And his conclusion is this will not go well. Okay, Skip. All right, buddy.
What's the national side of things saying? In terms of OTA involvement, again, that question, to be clear, that was an answer related to the collective unit, not just Lamar. Let's be clear on that. But some on the national side of things did use that as a way because of Lamar's decision-making in the past when it comes to voluntary organized team activities to make it more about Lamar. What did you find on that?
Yeah, they did. Most everybody took those Declan Doyle comments and took out all the other, I don't know, there's going to be 90 some odd players on this team. So they took out all other 89 and just focused on Lamar when Declan Doyle is saying he wants everybody there. But of course, one of those 90 is Lamar. And so Booger McFarland on ESPN, they talked about it. And McFarland was like, yeah, Lamar better be there.
Something else that Declan Doyle said within that team podcast about voluntary OTAs and expecting that Lamar Jackson would be there, that if he's going to try to win a championship, it's going to take that level of work and commitment in the offseason. We know, Booger, that Lamar hasn't always shown up for voluntary OTAs. They are voluntary. But how do you hear the Ravens offensive coordinator when he speaks about that with his quarterback?
Well, number one, I hope he's had that conversation with Lamar before he has it on the podcast. Like, hey, this is a new offense. I'm new here. I expect you to be here. That's number one. Number two, we've heard Steve Bisciotti say we're going to give Lamar Jackson a new contract. So he's going to be the highest paid player in the league. Dak Prescott is making $60 million. So if Lamar is going to be the highest, it's got to be $60.1 to $61 million. So you're talking a 4 or 5 year deal that's going to be $60 million a year. We're talking 5 years and $300 million plus. If I'm paying you that much money, you damn right. You better be here in the offseason. I get it. It's voluntary. And let's also understand something. OTAs, this is not training camp. You're in the building 4 hours a day, no pads. It's basically glorified conditioning. So we're not asking you to do anything but come up from South Florida, come to Baltimore, and if I'm paying you $61 million a year, you damn right I want you in the building for OTAs, especially with a new contract and a new offense that we're installing. He better be at OTAs this season.
Bobby, I'm going to make a prediction. Lamar is going to be there. And I say that because of his track record. anytime they've had a new offensive coordinator, he's been there. And now it's a new offensive coordinator and a brand new head coach. And to their point, he's going to get a new contract, and I'm sure they're going to talk about this. Lamar's going to be there. And I think a lot of this is a whole lot of a lot to do about nothing. Lamar's track record is that he's been there when there's a new offense to put in. I think he's going to be there. And to his point, I mean, when he does make $60 million, there's an argument to be made because here he just said, he goes, look, it's not that hard. OTAs are like a glorified conditioning. So it makes sense to be like, okay, well then it's not really important for him to be there. Right? Like that's why I say when it's not a new offense, I don't care if veterans are there. I don't, because McFarland's right. It's OTAs are much more beneficial to guys who are rookies or on their rookie contracts or guys that are new to the team. So when the Ravens sign like a Derrick Henry and he's coming from Tennessee, I expect Derrick Henry to be there too, because it's a new offense to him. And he was. And so it's like, it's not that important when you're a veteran and you have the same coaching and you have the same system. But it is more important when you have a whole new system, because you actually get to learn it. And so I think Lamar Jackson knows that. And I think he knows that because he's responded in the past every time he's had new offensive coordinators. That's my projection. He will be there.
That's cool. Yeah. And like Booger did a good job, like as you've already kind of alluded to, of telling it both ways. Here's what you get from OTAs. Here's what they are. Glorified conditioning, right? A way to get together in the off season. It's a pre-training camp, pre-mini camp. It's voluntary. But on the other end, hey, like there's an unwritten rule being the face of your franchise. We want you here. It's a new offense. It's a new regime. It's a new era of Ravens football. We want the face of the franchise as much as we can possibly get him around the building in the offseason. And so I think the way that Booger took that is fair. And
the tone's a little condescending. I think the points are fair, but like the tone is like, you better do what I say kind of a thing.
Booger's that old school mentality. I hear what you're saying though. Yeah. He's got that old school in him. And a lot of the rules in today's game were not in it when he was playing. And if history repeats itself, your prediction's absolutely going to come true. So we'll see. Okay. Some more super chats.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for being with us today, guys. We appreciate you. Looking forward to Indianapolis next week. And I have been hearing from a lot of you in terms of, lists. I heard from this morning. I still need to get back to him, and I haven't even opened it up yet because I hate to open up texts and then forget it to answer. Jeremiah Love is someone that Fem wants me to look at in Indy next week. So taking as many as I possibly can. We'll see what I can do in Indy coming up on Monday. Nightmare Kilo gets us restarted in the super chat category. And he says, Bobby, you got Ledford for us. How did I get? What do you mean I got Ledford for us? Dwayne Ledford? I was not a part of his hiring.
On the show that I was unaware of?
I was not a part of his hiring. He says, now I need you to start the campaign for Michael Pittman. I believe in you, Bobby. That promo will serve you well. What is this? I love it, but what is this?
Let's give you more credit for other things. You got us Derrick Henry. You got us Lamar extended. Can you just get all that done for us, Bobby?
This is too funny. The only thing that I did in San Fran was talk to Bijan Robinson for 60 seconds about Dwayne Ledford. That was about it. I don't think there was any recruitment in there at all. I was just trying to learn what he was all about, but appreciate the love, Kilo. JL Green's with us, Sarah.
He says, hey, Bobby and Sarah. I see you, Sarah, sporting that old school West Side Story leather jacket. Look fantastic. I shouldn't have worn it. I never like to be like the commentary in the chats. I just want to talk about football, but appreciate you. Appreciate you much.
JL, keep making it about her, baby. You know, I love it. I love it. Mrs. Slick, look at her over there. Wes is in the house, who just totally revamped his, I was going to say, his not office, not home office, but man cave. Gosh, my brain's not firing today. It's like fire. Wes put up a bunch of photos on X that I saw. It was pretty cool. Anyway, he says Skip should be a politician based on how he spun that conference.
For real.
like kind of true, but all false at the same time. By the way, Bobby, I sent you a Twitter about the 2026 season. You sent me a Twitter? A tweet? Thanks, Wes. M. Daddy is in the house.
He said Doyle did speak about Lamar's post-snap decision-making. Did he, Bobby? Decision-making? I just went back to the transcript and I did a control-find for decision-making or decisions. Don't see it unless it was in the podcast somewhere among the stuff you didn't just point out.
Yeah, I'd have to go back. I'd have to go back and look at all the
I mean, he talked about his post-snap footwork and his eyes and the consistency of it. I didn't hear decision-making.
I'd have to go back to the lounge.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, he says he did say that, but he did not reference the offensive line. It's all about perception. Okay.
Appreciate you, M. Daddy. JL Green writes another one. He says, people like Skip and Stephen A always look for the negative with Lamar because they like doing it, making money, saying it's simply icing on the cake. KP is with us on a Thursday. Thanks, JL.
He says, I think it's quite obvious Mentor was the golden boy hired this cycle. There aren't many teams that will outcoach us this year, and that feels different. It feels good, he says. Who's got it better than us? Combining the two. Phrasing again.
Yeah, the irony there in that super chat, Kobe, was undeniable.
Yeah.
He also writes, Lamar needs to copyright his name so he can make some money when First Things First and First Take Engagement Farm on whether he's a, quote, good passer.
Oh, don't do that because we'll be broke. We talk about Lamar every day. How can we not when we're covering the team?
Goodness. KP, thanks, brother. Thanks to all the super chats that have come in as well. You got a quick hit here and a slide?
Oh, yeah. So over the cap noted, again, I feel like I always try to make this point very clear every year. But my husband always says a lot of times you need to say things 12 times for it really to stick in other people's minds. So we'll see how long it takes this time. But over the cap mentioned that the Chiefs restructured Patrick Mahomes' contract to open up just under $44 million in cap space. So of course, a lot of people are like, why doesn't Lamar do this? $44 million? Look how great Patrick Mahomes is. No. Restructuring doesn't hurt Patrick Mahomes at all. It's an accounting trick. Yep. We're talking about you are thinking of a pay cut or an extension. A restructure is fully within the team's purview of how they just want the money to count against the cap over a few years. So Brian McFarland, trying to get out ahead of it, says before Ravens flock goes too bananas on this is just a simple restructure. Mahomes is not giving up any money. There's nothing magnanimous about it. It's just accounting. And it's no reflection on LJ8. The Ravens can do this at any point. Yep. But an extension is a far, far better result. Okay? All restructures is let's say that Lamar, we won't have to Lamar has a $75 million cap hit. You heard Steve Bisciotti say if he doesn't agree to a new extension, which is a new contract, he said, we'll just add void years, which means they're just going to push the money they already paid Lamar. He's already been paid it. That money, they're just going to put against the cap in future years, in those void years. And then we'll be paying for Lamar in the future if he doesn't re-sign a contract and Lamar's not on the roster. That's all a restructure is. Lamar gets all of his same money. He couldn't care less how it hits how the team decides to put it and use it against the cap space.
KP's noting that Kansas City's got more work to do too before the new league year. Still $10 million over the cap. Still in trouble, but trouble is a operative word because they'll be ready by the new league year.
They'll be ready, and $10 million over the cap, you still got to get under. Yeah. The other thing is sometimes you look at cap space team by team, and some teams may have a boatload of cap space, but they also might have a boatload of holes. So like last year, the Ravens didn't have a lot of cap space, but they really didn't need to sign a whole lot of people. They had the vast majority of their starters. I believe all their starters are returning on offense. Maybe it depends on how you define returning starter at the left guard position. And then they had nearly all their starters returning on defense. And so under that case, you don't need a ton of cap money. So it's like you can look at it side by side, but it also matters who's already under contract.
Yeah, the Ravens also like to do, as you know, they like to get their business done at times throughout the season, and this year was no exception. You know, Travis Jones was extended, Mark Andrews extended. They tried to do it with Isaiah Likely prior to the year. Nick Moore, their long snapper, was extended. I might have been missing one or two others. So, you know, that's a part of the equation that lightens the load a little bit this time of year once it comes around. You also have this quick hit as well.
Yeah, just Ravens Nation Live pointing out, you know, what some columnists or analysts are just saying here's who would make good fits. So the Ringer, Austin Gale at the Ringer, felt like some good matches for Baltimore would be Boy Mafe and Khalil Mack. And then Matt Bowen over at ESPN liked the Ravens going out and getting, am I saying this right? Kaylavon Chasen, who had 7.5 sacks in 2025.
Wait a second. Was he the one that called? Wait a second. Was he the one that called the Ravens speed skaters? Why do I feel like that was him? I think it was.
Are you talking about Khalil Mack?
No, Chason.
Oh. No, Mack said it wasn't hard to tackle Henry. That was his thing. Remember that?
And Chason's yes, I do. And
okay.
Wait, actually, no, do I? That's going back to the Harbaugh Bowl a couple of years ago.
He's saying they're saying that Jason's the one that stripped Zay to end the game.
Right, which is why he refers to, because they're ball security gaffes. He was the one that called Ravens speed skaters, and that they show it on tape as to why. As far as Max comments, I don't recall that right now off the top of my head. But
I remember. He's like, oh yeah, no, it's because somebody said, like, how do you go about tackling before they played the Chargers? They were like, how do you go about tackling Derrick Henry? He's like, it's easy to tackle Derrick Henry.
All right, so that's going back to the Harbaugh Bowl, I would think, a couple years ago. So anyway.
But Mac, by the way, remember I was showing you all the projections earlier in the show for Ravens free agents?
Yeah.
Khalil Mack, they have as the 14th ranked free agent out of 150. The projection is 1 year, $18 million.
Still got it.
He had 5.5 sacks last year.
Still got it.
That's less than Draymond Jones.
It is.
He had less pressures than Draymond Jones. And he'd be much more expensive.
I think he was banged up for a portion of 25. But yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed 4 games.
Yeah.
He missed 4 games.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. That's Khalil Mack. I wonder if they have how do I spell his name? CH. Let me just look up if they have Chase in here. No. But for fun, do you want to hear the projection for Trey Henderson, since we're wanting edge rush help?
Sure.
3 years, $99 million. Woo!
Yeah, he's still gonna. I mean, he's literally less than 2 years removed from being the sack getter, top sack getter.
Whoa, $33 million per year. Woo! Well, we're paying almost that kind of stuff. We're playing like upper 20s for both, like Roquan and Marlon. So, you know.
Curious to see if Cincinnati ponies up.
Last quick hit. Just looking at Derrick Henry in his 30s, late 20s, early 30s. Still got it. 2,900 rushing yards last year with the Ravens at 30 years old and 16 touchdowns this last year. Almost 1,600 rushing yards and, again, 16 touchdowns. Let's run it back. Just no more fumbles, Kinghan. He knows.
Here's a little spontaneous final quick hit that has just come out from a sports media standpoint in the Baltimore market, for those of you that are familiar with radio coverage, and in this case, 105.7 The Fan. But Tony Lombardi, and this has been confirmed by the Banner, by the way, who just released a story on it, reporting that Jason LaCanfora is out.
Oh.
He is out. And I had heard some tea leaves, Sarah, on this, some little small blurbs on this in recent weeks, and sure seems like something took place. The article, I don't believe, goes into specifics as to why, but Jason LaCanfora, former Washington Post insider, made it to the national level
network,
CBS. I mean, the guy was really at one point at the pinnacle of the profession, if you will, from an insider standpoint, or at least close to it, is out in local radio. So now it'll be a 2-man show for the time being between Ken Wyman and a friend of mine in Tim Barbalace. And so Jason Lockenford is, from a sports media standpoint, if those of you in the Baltimore area that listen to Drive Time, because that's what this show is, Drive Time, PM Drive Time is out.
So you're saying you heard something that something happened.
That something was going on. Yeah. The specifics of which I have absolutely no idea. And it was told to me literally in that vein that, hey, something's going on with him.
Well, listen, I never celebrate anybody losing their job. Like, that's not fun. I mean, I think we all either have been through that or know somebody that's been through that. It's never fun. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I do know, like, I don't know. I was listening to some 105.7 The Fan stuff the other day. He just oozes pessimism. Just oozes it. It's tough to hear like any sort of positive word. And I think that kind of got under Ravens fans' skin a bit.
Well, I'll just say this, as a former radio professional myself, I would try to put myself in the shoes of his co-hosts, for example.
Yeah.
And this is just me saying this, I would think it's pretty challenging to co-host with him. He is so suffocating with the way in which he commands a presence on the show that's not collaborative. That's not complimentary. And so whenever I listen to it, a lot of the things he says, I agree with. Some things from a pessimistic standpoint, take it to a point of personal vendetta. And clearly, if you've watched the disconnect over the years between he and the Ravens, and in this case, he and Eric DeCosta, who have literally publicly spat at one another through the media, you know that there might be some personal vendettas involved here, but solely based on the role that he has as a co-host, even though he is kind of the driver as the insider within that trio on the programming, that would make for not a great team player, is my interpretation of that as a former radio professional. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the other guys that are on that show, I'm sure it's difficult, awkward, sad, and all that, and bittersweet. But at the same time, it's like, gosh, I want to be able to breathe on my own show. And I wonder if they at times felt like they couldn't. So that was that.
Well,
came out of the timeline, wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Let's get a couple more super chats before we jump. Best wishes to him, to your point there, in terms of we're never going to ever celebrate someone's job loss. I know I won't. You won't either. So,
yeah.
KP hit us with another one. I've been hit. A lot of people are talking about this. KP's, I think, leading the train. Starting the trend to trade down for Denzel Boston at the wide receiver position. And KP also writes, get Chubb and Mack, give Green time to develop. KP has Eric DeCosta requests out here, Sarah.
Well, this is interesting. I don't know that they get both. I would love one of those two. I think I would prioritize Chubb. I mean, he's coming from Miami where Anthony Weaver was just at. So there's that connection, and Weave can give, a sound, report analysis on him to the Ravens front office. But yeah, I would take Chubb over Mack.
Denzel Boston, by the way, Washington wide receiver, 6'4", 209. KP, I wonder why you like him. Measurables, baby. Heck yeah. Alyssa Thomas and Ivan Gunn, thank you both for believing in what we're building. We appreciate the support that you give us consistently on a monthly basis through Patreon. Appreciate you both as patrons. You've been with us for a long time and hope you both are well. Patreon.com/Ravens Vault Podcast is where you can go to learn more about what we have going on here inside the channel. I think that'll do it for you and I. Although it looks like
Bradley Chubb.
Looks like you're puzzled by something.
Well, is Bradley Chubb even going to be a free agent? Just looking up his stuff.
Released by Miami. So that would make him
okay.
He and Tyreek both set to hit free agency. And for Tyreek, first time in his NFL career.
Okay.
Here's the other thing. Tyreek may not even be ready in the first half of the season. So like when we had those conversations earlier on in the week, particularly Monday, he may not even be ready in the first half of the season. So keep that in mind out there if you're on the Tyreek bandwagon, at least in terms of, where he might end up and what kind of market he might command.
I tell you what, Bobby, if Eric DeCosta gave him credit yesterday for turning around drafting at wide receiver, he's been a better drafter at wide receiver than Ozzie Newsome. However, Ozzie Newsome was a far better drafter at pass rusher than Eric DeCosta has been. If Eric can't pick it up in the draft, he might have to go do something like signing Bradley Chubb. It's
been a lot of smoke there around past deadlines. We'll see. All right, everybody. We will close down the week tomorrow and then have a week full of combine coverage coming up in Indy next week. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing all of you guys on a Friday. We will have a repurposed episode dropping in short form order, 4 o'clock, as we do every weekday all year round. So for Sarah, for Primary Residential Mortgage, for all of you who dropped in super chat donations, for all of you who showed up, for all of you who liked the video, subscribed, hit that notification bell, our current consistent members. I'm Bobby signing off from this Thursday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. Thank you, VAULTRONs. And as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside.